guys, and welcome to another episode of Woke by Accident podcast, a weekly chat about socially conscious topics impacting the culture. Welcome. We do have a special guest co-host today, and let's go ahead and get into our introduction for him. All right, and so our co-host is someone whose ear is matched for music. His ear for music is matched by only his love for the culture, and you could call him a hip hop historian, master curator of sound, and one of the sharpest voices in our music commentary coming out of London. He is the creator and host of the Sample Lounge, a podcast that does not just talk about music, it honors the architects behind the sound, the producers. So week after week, he would break down the brilliance behind the beats, shining a well-deserved spotlight on the creative minds who shape the soundtracks of our lives. And here's the kicker. In May of 2023, his work caught the attention of none other than Joe Budden, earning a shout out on the Joe Budden podcast, one of the biggest platforms in podcasting and hip hop media. And this man's guest list is a hall of fame in itself. He's sat down with legends like Jimmy Jam Harris, High Tech, Bink, Rockwaller, Easy Mo B, Boy Wonder, Ninth Wonder, DJ Toom, Brian Alexander Morgan, just to name a few. And so we please want to welcome the voice behind the Sample Lounge, a true champion for producers and one of the most thoughtful music minds in the game, Olu.
Oh, thank you. You're too kind. That was a great intro, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Welcome. Yes, I definitely wanted to reach out. Our buddy Sambaza is traveling. So shout out to Sambaza, who is traveling. So we will see our good brother soon. But we are going to acknowledge Black Music Month. And I thought it would be great to have our good friend Olu with his great appreciation for music to join us in this conversation. So we'll start by acknowledging what Black Music Month and the origins of that. So Black Music Month, also known as African American Appreciation Month, originated as a celebration to honor the profound influence of Black music on American culture. And so it was started by Gamble, Williams, and Wright. They envisioned the month to celebrate the legacy and ongoing impact of Black music or Black musicians. And so they came up with it and they pushed for the recognition. And President Carter hosted a first celebration of Black Music Month at the White House back in June of 1979. So that was the first Black Music Month. And then during Clinton's administration, they recognized it again. And then in 2009, during the Obama administration, they named it African American Music Appreciation Month to reflect its deeper cultural significance. So, in short, Black Music Month celebrates the originators, the innovators, and trailblazers. So we'll kind of recount some significant moments in Black history, and Ola will share about some great moments that he's had with musicians and producers to acknowledge Black Music Month. So I guess before we get into it, your thoughts on Black Music Month and appreciating it?
I love Black music. Goes without saying.
Sure.
It's one of the most influential music genres in the world. Mm-hmm. Just be specific. When you're saying Black music, you're talking diaspora wise, or are you speaking specifically about Black American music?
I would say Black American music in this instance, but like you said, definitely heavily influenced, across genres and, the world even. So, for sure.
Okay, yeah. So speaking specifically about Black American music, that's been very influential in my life. Growing up, a lot of the musicians that I enjoyed listening to, that I saw on the screens, were Black people from America. And this was, as a kid growing up in the United Kingdom, I didn't see too many Black artists from the UK scene on the mainstream screens around me. So when I saw these Black artists from America, like Michael Jackson,
Mhm.
like Whitney Houston. I mean, the list goes on. I just fell in love with the music, whether it be hip hop, R&B, whether we go as far back as the 70s, that's James Brown with the soul music. It all sounded wonderful to me, and it still sounds wonderful to me to this day. Hence why I love speaking a lot about it. So yeah,
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. We wanted to pinpoint some great moments in Black music history and then we also want to talk about like the social aspect as we do around here on Woke by Accident, talk about the woke and conscious moments in our culture. So there's definitely a lot of those in Black music, but so we found some research about key moments in Black music. Billie Holiday's Strange Fruit was known as a protest anthem, and that was in 1939. Ella Fitzgerald became the first Black artist to win a Grammy in 1958. And Fela Kuti created Afrobeats in 1967. It made me think of you because I know you've talked about some of the Fela Kuti samples and things like that.
yeah.
Yeah. And so, and this is just a handful of, moments. I mentioned the social justice aspect. So I found a few moments. The Billie Holiday song is one. It was a anthem that actually spoke to a protest against lynching and racism. It became known as an anthem during the civil rights movement at that time, and that was the 30s. So you can imagine, lynchings were still prevalent and things like that. And as depicted in her biopic, I don't know if you had a chance to see it. It was a huge deal for her, even not only performing this song. It like all hell broke loose. Like literally got hauled off to jail for performing the song based on the lyrics that spoke to, in a really musical way. Like you may even, and it's like the song has been sampled. You probably talked about some of the music that's had the Strange Fruit sample from Billie Holiday. So that song is really deep. You wouldn't think that like this song is talking about lynching and things like that. Really kind of poetic the way they broke it down. Another one from the 60s, Nina Simone, Mississippi Goddamn, which is written about Medgar Evers' murder, the Birmingham church bombing, and it was like a direct call for justice and became another civil rights anthem. You mentioned James Brown, Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud, which is from 1968, is a powerful declaration of Black pride and empowerment during the height of the civil rights music. Another one, and I wanted to pivot to you for your thoughts, Gil Scott-Heron, The Revolution Will Not Be Televised, along with many other of his songs. I think we've even talked about some of the other ones with you, but that is a big one from 1970, a spoken word classic critiquing the media and calling for real social change. Share about Gil Scott-Heron.
Yeah, so I was privileged enough to speak to his daughter, Gia Scott Heron,
Mhm.
and she just gave us a bit of a backstory about the song. So for those who don't know, the Revolution Not Televised by Gil Scott Heron was a response to a song that the Last Poets did. I'm trying to remember the name of the song. I can't remember the name of the song. Do you know the song I'm talking about that the Last Poets did?
I know the Last
When
Poets.
the revolution comes, yes, that's what it was
Okay,
called.
gotcha.
When the
Okay.
revolution comes. So
Mhm.
from what I can recall, I think Mr. Gil Scott Heron, he attended a college performance of such, and the Last Poets were performing that song, and the Last Poets basically inspired Gil Scott Heron to create a response to it called "The Revolution Will Not Be Televised." And I had a discussion with his daughter about what that meant,
Mhm.
and it's still relevant to today.
That totally. And what's really dope is that she does poetry and is a musician as well. And the message in her content is excellent. I know I follow her on Instagram, and she has some really powerful stuff out there.
No, for sure, for sure.
Absolutely. So that is pretty cool to kind of like have that little moment, to get like background, but behind one of our cultural, impactful, iconic and influential songs during that time period. So that's pretty cool. Another is Kendrick Lamar's All Right. This was from 2015, and it's kind of skipping the years, so this is a more recent one. This was adopted as a modern protest song, especially during the Black Lives Matter demonstrations and a message of hope and resilience. So that's one of my favorites from Kendrick Lamar, so that's a good one. What's Going On is another. Marvin Gaye from 1971 addressed police brutality, war, and social unrest, and it resonated across genres. And you can go anywhere and hear that song being played today. It's been remade and several times and things like that. Freedom, Kendrick Lamar, Beyonce, that was in 2016. The rallying cry for liberation, equality, historical struggles, fight the power. You talked about this one. 1989, Public Enemy. Any thoughts about that one?
I'll Fight the Power.
Yeah.
Yeah. Random facts, that samples James Brown as well. I'm trying to remember the name of the song that it was. Can't remember the top of my head, but yeah, that sampled James Brown.
Okay. Is it Funky Drummer? Or?
Nah, I don't think it was Funky Drummer.
Okay.
It was I want to say Blues and Pants, but I'm not sure if that's the one. But
okay,
I can't remember, man, because there's so many James Brown samples out there. And
definitely,
it's funny because I was in the middle of doing the edit for a Ninth Wonder clip where he was talking about, he made reference to a film, Do the Right Thing, which I'm sure you've watched. And there's a scene where two of the characters, I can't remember, the guy that played, have you watched, what's that, Breaking Bad?
Yes, Giancarlo Esposito.
Yeah, so him and then the other dude, they went into the bar, Sal's, the Italian dude, and that was the song that was playing, Fight the Power. And so as you were mentioning it, that's what it reminded me of, because they used it.
Absolutely. Do the Right Thing. I think they played that song several times. And it's almost like, here comes Radio Rakim with his stereo coming down the street, blasting. I wouldn't say that was the only song that it played, and it's just like so iconic, because it's like, okay, it's blasting so loud, it's hot as heck, it's Brooklyn, and the heat is irritating people, the tension of what's going on. It's just, that was such a just dope film altogether.
And obviously it was addressing, one of the themes was racism in that film.
Absolutely. And another thing, Fight the Power, I recently learned that was like a interpolation of Isley Brothers' Fight the Power.
Really?
Yeah, so that it's like an additional sample and interpolation. And if Beats will tell you, because they just did a Isley Brother room, actually several rooms on Isley, and that came up. The Fight the Power was interpolated in this version, so that was pretty cool. Because I didn't know that.
I didn't know that myself.
I knew they had a song called "Fight the Power," but it sounds nothing like it, and you really can't even hear the sample. You know how you listen for the sample, like, oh, I don't hear it, but it's interpolated, and I guess because maybe they're using the words "Fight the Power," even though it's used in like a different melody, it's still like a credit type of thing. So
are they actually officially credited in that song?
I think so, but it's considered an interpolation because of the way, because it's not like the melody's not there. If you're looking for the melody, it's not there.
But if the melody isn't there and they're simply saying "fight the power," can someone really claim ownership to the phrase "fight the power"? I don't know, man.
I thought you would know about this.
I mean, that's the thing with interpolations and samples.
Yeah.
It's not black and white,
Right.
But in my humble opinion, I would say nobody can claim ownership of the phrase "fight the power." That's 3 words. That's not intricate enough to
And
I
maybe
know.
there's similarities in the melodies, but if you listen to both songs, they sound different to me. But
Hmm.
maybe, somewhere in the pattern of the track, it's, a melody thing. Because you can even, claim that, like the way that it's sung and things like that. Like, for example, and this is really random, there's an old Destiny's Child song that they credit Sir Mix-a-Lot. It doesn't take it's Temptation, but the way that she's singing the song is in the same pattern of how Sir Mix-a-Lot is like my posse's on Broadway, but it's like da, 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 and I'm rolling so deep. It's like,
That
and
makes
you
sense
got to
though.
credit him because she is mimicking his pattern. I think that's why they had to credit him.
Yeah,
But he,
that makes sense. If you're doing it in the same melody, that makes sense. Even if you're
right,
changing the words, that makes
right,
sense. But
exactly.
I guess my argument is if it's just 3 words and you're not even saying those 3 words in the same way, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
yeah, it's interesting.
anyway,
That's so interesting. That's why I really love your content, and this is a good way to pivot into what you do with the Sample Lounge. If people don't know about the Sample Lounge,
okay, all right. Well, long story short, I interview people, producers mainly. We go through their catalogs in chronological order. We play if there's a sample involved, we'll play the sample first. And if I'm fortunate to have enough people on the call, the people on the call will guess what song from their catalog used that sample. And then we'll play the song that the producer produced. And then we have a conversation about that song. That's the short story of it. Pretty much, really. That's what I do in the sample lounge, yeah.
okay. And so I know I came across you doing this content on the Clubhouse platform, but did it start there, or did you start it somewhere else?
No, it started on Clubhouse. I mean,
Mhm.
I always like to get samples before Clubhouse, but then the concept of me playing in the sample and getting people to guess, that's something I just did on Clubhouse. And I had no intention of trying to interview people or create an IG page like it is now.
Our
So
podcast.
yeah, because that was never my intention.
Yeah.
I never saw that for myself, but I kind of like accidentally fell into it, and uh, I've loved it. It's been a learning experience for me. I'll say that. I kind of cringe when I listen to my early interviews, but
Okay.
you got like everything in life. When you first start doing something, you won't be that great, but the more you do it, you'll get better and better. And I've still got loads of room for improvement, but
Uh-huh.
no, that's it is what it is.
I love that it's like by accident, right? That
Yeah,
kind
yeah. Woke by accident.
I know it just like resonates with me that it's like you just was into it and you was like, okay, I'm gonna capture it. I think you recorded your rooms, and then
Mm,
you said in came one of the other producers in your
yeah,
room. You're like, this is an opportunity to like ask him some questions and make this an interview, and that's like it's organic, right? I love that.
yeah. I feel very blessed to have had the opportunity to speak to the legends I spoke to, because I know I'm not the most, in terms of music knowledge, I'm not the most insightful when it comes to music. In terms of
Mhm.
interviewing, I'm not the best interviewer, but for some reason, God just put this opportunity in my lap, and I've
Yeah.
just been very grateful, and I'm just trying to get better at it each time. So I'm very humbled by the opportunity, and I'm very grateful as well. So.
Absolutely. And I'm glad that we've had these conversations to kind of document, these moments because like you said, you weren't really trying to do this, but as you learn more things about audio production, capturing the processes that go into this is really part of, capturing whatever you're covering. The behind the scenes stuff is important too. So, I'm glad to be a part of this that you can, I spoke with folks and documented what you're doing. We even like did a game version. I think one of the times you came on, which was pretty fun, and that's out there on our prior. I should have had those episode numbers handy that you've been on before to share, and
Yeah,
I
it's my
just think
third
it's
or fourth time, I think.
yeah, we've had a blast. But I definitely value your takes on music. So I want to hear what you had to share and what you're working on. So I mentioned in the intro that you had a great moment in May of 2023 where you got a great celebrity mention. Any memorable moments from that?
Oh man, yeah, this it was a very bizarre day. So basically, Joe Budden gave me a shout out on his podcast, and as a result of that, my following on Instagram grew tremendously. My assumption of how it happened is I did a IG collaboration with Bink.
Mhm.
It was the post was about the making of The Ruler's Back, which is basically the first song on the Blueprint. And I noticed that Joe Budden liked it. So once he liked it, he followed me. So obviously, when someone, I don't know how it is for normal Instagram accounts, but actually, at that time, I didn't have a huge following. But anyway, when someone like Joe Budden follows you, it's sort of, you see it on your notifications, right? So I was like, okay, cool. And then a few days later, I noticed that Melissa Ford and somebody else on the podcast followed me too.
Mm-hmm.
And I was very confused by that. I was like, why is Melissa Ford following me? Not knowing that I don't know if you've seen the clip where they're speaking about the Sample Lounge. Have you seen the clip?
Yes, they like actually have the phones in the whole
Yeah. So it was basically as Joe Biden's telling them that, and they all pick up their phones. That's when Melissa Ford followed me. But of course, this isn't broadcast live. I think this episode came out on a Saturday, and I think they recorded it maybe on the Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
So real time, I'm getting what they're filming at the real time. I'm getting notification that she's following me, but I'm not putting two and two together as to what's going on. So then on the Saturday that the episode was released, I got all these like notifications, people following me saying that the JPP brought them there, and I wasn't too clued up on the Joe Budden podcast at the time. Now I listen to it every week without fail.
Yeah,
I actually love it. But anyway, people were saying that the JBP brought them the JBP, and I was like, what's the JBP? It's like the Joe Budden podcast. So I remember DMing someone saying, "Oh, if you see Joe Budden, tell him I said thanks." Because I don't know, I wasn't putting two together. I was thinking that Joe Budden must have told him in the hallway or something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I just thought they knew each other, and so his response was, "If I see him, if I get the chance to see him, I'll let him know." But he doesn't. He's never met him before. So then, anyway, long story short, all these people started following me, and then I was like, okay, the podcast. So that was really great.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So, very, very surreal moment. I've not experienced anything like that before. So,
absolutely. And I've been lucky enough to sit in on some of your panels. We appreciate that. And it's really quite interesting. You know, you have like really impactful conversations, and you know they're just as engaged as you are. You know, some of these producers, you know, any moments about that? I mean, because sometimes you go for a lengthy conversation.
Yeah, that's okay. That's never been my intention to when I actually look at how long the conversations, I'm like, this is even normal. Like if I told somebody, okay, this interview is going to take 6 hours, they'll be like, what the fuck? Like, why am I speaking to you for 6 hours? Like, but I guess, you know, when you're speaking about things that you're interested in, you won't know where the time goes, especially if the person I'm speaking to is speaking about something that they do, something that they're passionate about. The time will just go. You know what I mean? So
for sure.
Yeah. So, sorry, what was the question? You said.
Well, I wanted any memorable moments from those interviews. You know, you've had some lengthy ones like the Jam Harris, and
there's so many memorable moments, man. Man, I couldn't. Okay, the interview I'm most proud of, I'll say that, is Jimmy Jam Harris. Mr.
Okay.
Jimmy Jam Harris, because as far as like accolades, achievements, contributions to music, I don't think it gets any higher than that. Some might argue, rest in peace, Quincy Jones. Maybe
Mhm.
some might argue Babyface. For me, I'll put them all on the same level. For
Okay.
me, Quincy Jones, Babyface, Jimmy Jam Harris, and Mr. Terry Lewis.
Mhm.
Those are like the Mount Rushmore of producers. So I don't think I could get any higher than that than Mr. Jim Jam Harris. So
Okay.
that's my proudest moment because I have no right to interview someone like that.
That's pretty cool. I would say because I've sat in on a couple. I
Hmm.
thought the Easy Mo B was pretty cool because it was just kind of like an insider moment. Like, he did so much work with Biggie, and there's not a whole lot. If you weren't there in Brooklyn during that time, either so that was really like a great insider moment to hear some of the stories behind the tracks
Yes.
and the interludes. If you're familiar with Ready to Die album, Easy Mo B was a producer. He did a lot of songs, and he just shared like those stories and even thought concepts, little small, minute things in the song. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was cool as well. Like I know I said Jimmy Jam was the best moment, but they were all cool. They're like I can't
Yeah,
like I least said Jimmy Jam if I had to pick one, but really and truly, I appreciate each and every interview. They will just I appreciate their willingness to speak to someone like myself.
Mhm.
I appreciate their time. I appreciate the insight. I appreciate their contributions to music. And like you said, the Easy Mo B one, that was another good one. He was very detailed. I liked how he answered each of my questions. He will start with a breakdown of okay, I put this beat here, I put this snare here, did this, did that. Then they give you like it'll paint the picture of how it all came together. It was a very good storyteller. Um, Again, and shout out to Bink for helping me out with that because literally Bink just rang me up one day. He's like, "Oh, I got Easy with B." I was like, "For real?" He's like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." Like, went to an interview. I was like, "Yeah, sure, yeah." So I interviewed him. He told me about it in December. So the interview happened towards the end of January. But yeah, I
Okay.
appreciate Bink. Like he's done that for me quite a few times, even without me asking. He'll just call me up randomly, be
Oh,
like,
that's dope. That's
"Yeah,
so
yeah,
dope.
yeah." Yeah,
That's
and I've not had the pleasure of meeting Bink yet, but hopefully at
okay.
one point in the future I will. But like and that's another thing I like about this whole thing. Like people I haven't met have been very supportive of what I've been doing. You
Mhm.
know, people like EJ, people like yourself. You've come to quite a few of the rooms. Lakeithia, Lola, Watts. I said Bink already. Yeah, Bink as well. Beats come to quite a few of them.
Neat.
And yeah, it's just like I even remember there's one lady, I can't remember her actual name, but she goes by Miss JT. And I don't know if you was in the
Oh,
room then.
yeah. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
What
yeah.
up?
So there was one day, it was in April, I won't forget, April 2022, April. She just came in the room one day and I just said, "Oh, it'll be dope to interview Knife One though." And then she was like, "Really?" It's like, "Yeah." She's like, "Okay, hold up." She sends him a text, and 2 seconds, he's in the room. I was like, "What?" I was like, "Yeah, it'll be dope to interview
Yeah.
you." And it's like, "Yeah, yeah, sure, sure, sure." And so then yeah, I ended up interviewing him. And I don't know this lady. I've never met this lady before,
Yeah.
um,
That's dope.
but she was willing to just help me, and I really appreciate that. Like, really, really appreciate that. So um but yeah, there've been so many great moments.
For sure.
So many, so many.
And that's what I loved about Clubhouse. I don't know if you've been in there lately. They've made some more changes.
What they done?
So they have levels, and there's like a paid level, but you still can come in for free. But you see this offer of on the $4.99 level and then the $9.99 level, you
What do you get at these levels?
so you can see who is following you. You can be anonymous, things like that. You can like change up your link to your profile. You know,
Ain't nobody paying for that.
and you get a little star by your name.
like a verified check.
Yes. And I guess it's a way, because I think the thought processes behind it is to kind of curb some of the doxing and negative behavior going on. And this way you can see who is really following you. You're paying to see who followed you and when. And, it gives you those details. So I guess if people are abusing, the way that they're using the app, it can be documented and things like that. Because some people are getting paid. They ask for money for a song to be played. That was a thing and it's still going on. They ask for tips and they put links at the top of the page.
The craziest one is people pay as high as $50 to get someone kicked out of a room.
That too.
That's who's doing this stuff? What?
Kick you out of the room to move to the front of the line to be talked next. I mean, literally.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, it's crazy, man.
So, but yeah.
Yeah.
It's, I guess we knew it was going to evolve into something. So, some people who have their little friend groups have, made separate groups on another platform so that you can stay linked up with your people just in case they decide to really, do the 1-2 on it or something. So for sure. So yeah, that was cool to go over some of those moments in the social justice songs. So many. I'm trying to see what else is on the list for the social justice songs. F the Police, NWA is on that list from 1988. Fela Kuti has a song called Zombie. I'm not familiar with that one. 1976. And it is about criticizing the government oppression, military brutality in Nigeria, and your background. So
yeah. It's from what I remember, zombie. If you think of a zombie, they're brainless. They're just they don't put much thought into their actions. So basically, Fela's pretty much criticizing the people, saying that you just follow whatever the government tell you to do. Basically, stand up and fight. That's what I remember from the research I did about the song. Yeah,
for sure.
Obviously, I also spoke to his daughter as well.
You did. Yeah. That's a good one.
And then you said F the Police. I don't know if you was in the room for this one when we spoke to Dr. Dre from Yo MTV Raps.
Yes.
Yeah, and he was in, I can't remember the city, but he was at a concert where they were performing F the Police, and they were told, if you remember the actual film, Straight Outta Compton, and they were told not to perform that song.
Right.
And they were like, nah, fuck that, we're going to perform it. And they performed it, and then the police basically closed the whole concert down, arrested them. Yeah. And Dr. Dre was just retelling us about what it was like to actually be there at the time. So,
and that is so bizarre to get hauled off to jail for a song like Billie Holiday in 1939. This is not 1939. This is the 80s, and the same thing happening. This is not on the list, but what was that? 2 Live Crew passed something with the parental advisory and censorship. Didn't that have something to do with the police couldn't do that today, right? Because of the sense.
I'm not too sure about that.
Okay. Yeah. That was a big deal. I never was a big 2 Live Crew fan, but I feel like that moment, what they did in legislation was kind of deep because that impacted everybody in the or musicians.
All right.
Okay. Yeah, some kind of legislation. Because I remember the footage of them. So they their one song in 1989, As Nasty as They Want to Be, was the first sound recording in U.S. history to be declared legally obscene by a judge, and then that ruling was later reversed by the 11th Circuit. So maybe that's what it was, is that they fought to get that label off of the songs. I know they did something where they like went all the way up to a high level of courts
Hmm.
for the type of content or whatever. And I feel like people should be able to, have freedom of speech, for a song.
Yeah, most definitely. But freedom of speech has its limits. Like you can't incite violence.
Yeah.
It can't. I can't remember the other exceptions, but yeah.
Okay, so that was it. It was because it was caught obscene by that judge, a circuit court reversed the decision, and then because it was saying it was protected by the First Amendment. So it's interesting that these laws that are out there, people will push you and push the limit on it all the time. So but they stood up for their rights. So, and then we didn't acknowledge some of the folks who came through earlier. Denise from the Heal, Empower, Release. She was here early and said peace, and she said we use pain to share we use music to share our pain and to heal our pain. And speaking about the songs with social justice themes and things like that. So we appreciate that. All right, we will go ahead and wrap it up. Any final thoughts, or I guess you can share how people can find the Sample Lounge if they want to follow you like Joe Button.
Yeah, on IG, Sample Lounge, one word. On YouTube, what is it? Is it the Sample? Yeah, YouTube, same thing, the Sample Lounge.
Okay.
Not Twitter, TikTok, also the same thing. Yeah, that's pretty much it, really.
Okay. Anything we should look for, or we'll just get the notification when you get ready?
Yeah, like I said, I was supposed to have 3 interviews this month. Well, we're in June now, but last month I was supposed to, but it didn't go to plan. So I'm gonna keep trying to make that happen, and I'll let you know when I can finally get that confirmed. I was really looking forward to doing these 3 interviews because they were pretty big. But
okay,
yeah,
it'll come around. Yeah, just
yeah.
have to reschedule. That happens from time to time. So
Yeah, exactly, and I'm sure these guys are like really, really busy. So
it does, and so being flexible, is the skill, and yeah, I think it'll work itself out. So we're definitely looking forward to that.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so we'll do our wrap it up, and let me find.
Thanks for having me on, by the way.
Absolutely. Thank you for taking some time out of your evening. I forget about the time difference and catching us on a different day. The audio will be out soon. I'm trying to catch up on my audio episodes, but we'll get it out there soon. As a last thought, any predictions on the Diddy situation?
Oh wow, the Diddy situation. Wow. The Diddy situation. Well, I haven't been following it too closely, but
oh my god, I'm obsessed.
like I hear little things here and there, but
okay.
I know there seems to be a lot of confusion between what is domestic violence and what is human trafficking. Or why does it fall under the RICO? Because I see a lot of people saying, "Oh, this isn't human trafficking. This is domestic violence."
Yeah,
but I see a lot of people talking without knowing what they're talking about.
True. And this shows you like the power of the narrative in the courtroom is crucial because, there's been lawyers that have put someone away for a murder without any evidence, no, no weapon, no body, just the power of that story and narrative has, it moved a jury to, make a decision. So, I mean, they have instructions. So hopefully they follow their instructions based on the evidence that has been presented. And we just have to, trust in the system. But he might be able to Diddy bop his way on out of this situation.
His way is crazy. You're funny.
Or get a pardon,
Pardon from Trump.
Possibly.
I saw that. I was like, that's
Yeah,
crazy.
one of those reporters threw that out at Trump, and he kind of just made it seem like it was a consideration. NBA YoungBoy got a pardon. Um,
But I don't know what NBA YoungBoy allegedly did. I don't
oh
know. So.
yeah,
But
so
there's levels to this shit, Jen. There's levels.
true that. And the Christies, Christie's got a pardon.
I saw that. I don't know who exactly they are. Were they on some reality show or something?
Yes, big reality show family, and it was like fraud and stuff from like in the millions. But he felt like they didn't get a fair, shake in their process, and so he pardoned them. Who would have thought?
Don't presidents normally give pardons at the end of their?
Sometimes not. Sometimes not. I mean, usually, because I think all of them, even Barack Obama, because it's been like it was in the news about Kim Kardashian getting her law certificate. She was instrumental in getting a president to pardon some non-violent drug offenses for some Black folks and stuff like that. That was significant. That's why some people were kind of encouraging her moving along in her legal efforts. So yeah, I mean, it's a possibility. So we'll see. I've definitely been following it, but I've, try not to make, too much of a statement until we hear more, obviously, because
exactly.
There's more to the story, obviously. There's more to the story. Definitely. Okay, so we will put a pin in that, and we will have the links posted, and let's see. Stick around for our final goodbye, but thank you for joining us, everyone. We hope that today's conversation has inspired and enlightened you. Our collective awareness and advocacy play a crucial role in creating positive change. We invite you to stay tuned and engaged for more engaging content, and we look forward to continuing these important conversations. So, for next time, and everyone else, take care.
Bye.